Georgia, Alabama. Sports Live will be your go-to for all your favorite high school and collegiate games this fall. From the Carver Tigers to the Columbus Blue Devils, the Harris County Tigers and Northside Patriots, the Glenwood Gators and Calvary Christian Knights, the Pacelli Vikings and Brookstone Cougars to the Smith Station Panthers and Russell County Warriors, from CVCC, Pirates basketball and baseball, and every tournament from here to Macon. We are the #1 destination for anything happening in East Alabama and West Central Georgia. Be sure to like and follow us on YouTube and Facebook, and stay tuned for even more amazing ways we will be bringing Georgia, Alabama Sports Live to you this upcoming season. We can't wait to come see you next. What's going on, everyone? Thrift Barringer here. Big Rich. We hope you had an incredible Easter weekend. Richard left us hanging, and he didn't do anything last week, so we're just glad he's back to help us out. It's Big Rich in the studio. No, I'm kidding. Rich got some much-needed R&R and family time, and glad you're back with us, man, and glad to be back doing a show. What an incredible last week. We'll get into recapping that here in just a moment, but how you been, man? How was the weekend?
Doing great. Just had some quality time with the family over Easter weekend. Was still able to catch some sports, and we got a lot to talk about.
A ton we're going to be getting into, which includes the baseball rankings. We're going to get into them. We got a special guest. Richard, do you know Tom Callahan? Do you know who that is?
Yeah, he just happens to be the voice of the Columbus Riverdragons.
Okay, yeah, and he'll be coming on to talk about those River Dragons who got a huge win on the road, Game 3 against the Athens Rock Lobsters, and then now they take on the arch nemesis Carolina Thunderbirds, and this time roles are reversed from last year. We're the underdog, and they're the favorite. So we'll talk with Tom ahead of their Game 1 matchup on Wednesday. Games 2 and 3 will be on Friday and Saturday on the road, Richard, so we can't wait to have our great conversation with him. Should be a lot of fun talking with Big Tom. We'll recap what we did last week here in the intro. We'll do the baseball rankings, and we'll talk about what we got coming up for the rest of this week. So excited about it, man. Should be a great show in store. Thank you to Rick Beach and Kudzu Sports for starting us off here on this Monday night, and can't wait to get going.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk about all the sports that's been going on. High school baseball playoffs, the Clean Stones. We got the River Dragons. Lions, it's a great time to be a sports fan in the city of Columbus.
It most definitely is. And sorry, I could not. My allergies, it's like they won't let me be great, Rich. I try and try. Does not matter. All right. Last week, man. Wow. Let me kind of paint the picture of what was accomplished on Georgia Alabama Sports Live last week. On Monday, of course, we got the Sports Bitches morning show every weekday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. to kind of get your day started. We have that. And then on Monday, we had a couple things. We had the FCA banquet. Me, you, and DJ were able to attend and hear Sony Michelle talk. And thank you to Jonathan Carasor and FCA putting on a fantastic banquet. And glad that we were able to be there. It was a great time, a good attendance, excellent food. We left that and went to a WNBA draft party held at Girls Inc. Thank you to Mike Woods, Danita Gibson-Lloyd, the interim CEO of Girls Inc., for letting us be there for KK Timpson, who is the power forward for Florida State. They got drafted in the second round to the Indiana Fever. She'll be playing with Caitlin Clark. And we were there getting a live reaction from the Girls Inc. girls, from her, KK, and her family on a Zoom. We even did an interview right after, which you can go back and watch. So we did that on Monday night, Richard, which was a lot of fun. Tuesday, It was all about the Clingstones. And you were there doing CVCC. We did have baseball games. Brookstone Calvary was also playing, but I was there live with Sports Visions, and we were on the scene as people started coming into the ballpark on opening day. We were able to interview Skip Henderson, the mayor. Richard, we were able to interview yourself, Dave Plata, Jack Patterson, Tyler Redmond. It was a who's who list of people that we got to interview, and it's on Sports Vision's Facebook page and YouTube channel. Wednesday, we had a ton of shows, including I did a live sit-down. Richard, you produced it, with new Smith Station head football coach Blair Harrison, which we'll get into in just a second. Thursday, we had Brookstone baseball. We had Harris County baseball. We had a ton. Pacelli baseball. Friday, we had the Columbus Lions and Game 3 of Brookstone and Calvary, which was amazing. Saturday, we had CVCC. I was live in Harris County for the Carolite Collin 5K race, DJ and emceeing that. And then we also had Fountain City. That was an incredibly busy week, and throwing games from soccer that we did, Richard, to baseball, just in a softball, Glenwood softball that had 15 runs in the first inning. It was not good. But, man, what an incredible week. What are some of the things that stood out with you, man?
Well, a lot of busy things that's been happening around our area, but it was just a continually sustainable grind of sporting events that we tried to cover, interview as far as coaches, players, and also we did have the female awards banquet on
holy smokes, and that slipped my mind. We had the female awards, Sports Vision's 10th annual female awards luncheon that I was able to host. I think DJ and Dill started this many years ago. 18 schools, 2 MVPs from each school. Doesn't matter the sport, from wrestling to swimming to cheer to volleyball to basketball, does not matter. Softball, they were there representing. We had specialty awards. Tawana Tree Williams, a legendary Hall of Fame player from Albany State, and Jordan was the guest speaker. You can go back and watch that. It was a who's who list. So throw that in there as well. Like I said, Rich, it was just one thing after another, and the grind is a blessing. But I thoroughly enjoyed being there for that WNBA draft party, the home opener, historic for the Clingstones. I mean, we accomplished a lot, and you can find all of it right here on the Georgia Alabama Sports Live platforms. But let's go into baseball, Richard. And last week we had some incredible games. Calvary beat Brookstone 2 out of 3. We'll go in more detail with that. And talk about those teams and what they got coming up when we do our rankings. But that was a great series. Harris County got swept by Stars Mill, but Northside swept Central of Carroll, so they finished second in the region. And if Stars Mills would have lost just one game to Harris County, Northside would have been tied with Stars Mill. They won 2 or 3 from them. They would have won the region in year 1 of Tracy Powell. How about that? Yeah. Glenwood hosted a playoff game against Hell County. Here's the scores, Richard. 16-0 and 25-0. Those were the scores for the 2 games with Glenwood. And then we had Columbus take the loss to Shaw beat Jordan. Columbus already won the region. Shaw beat Jordan for second place, and that was a mega game on Friday, Richard, because guess what? Shaw now gets to host a playoff game this week. Jordan's got to go on the road. Anything else really stand out with you last week with baseball, CVCC, and softball as well?
Well, just that the baseball seasons and softball seasons are wrapping up. I know we've already started playoffs. This is the week where we've got playoffs for the GHSA and for Alabama. I know that Glenwood's in the second round. Central's going to be taking on Baker. We've just got so many great playoff matchups. Columbus is hosting. Northside is hosting. We've got soccer teams as Columbus women and men's soccer, they're going to be hosting. Shaw is hosting for the boys. It's a great time. And, also we have our GIAA show. We've actually started that.
Inside the GIAA.
Yeah, in the GIAA, we've got tennis championships going on. And, we've got some tennis players from Brookstone, Calvary, and Pacelli that are being in the state tennis championship. We've got the golf championship. I know that Brookstone got first place in an invitational with some public schools, and so they're off to a great start and try to get that coveted state championship. Man, there's just so much that we have covered
Well,
here, not only on
let's
Georgia
go in
Athletics.
this route, Richard. Let's talk about this. I want your reaction on being at the home opener for the Clean Stones. We got to talk about it on Sports Visions, but being able to be there for that, the WNBA draft, those are two historic things that I was really glad that we were able to be a part of. Obviously, the fan attendance last week was averaging about 6,000 a game, or excuse me, about 4,000 or 5,000 a game, which is really impressive. Glad that they were able to show support. The ballpark's beautiful. I recommend everyone going and trying it out. The food is delicious. Had a lot of fun there, Richard.
Yeah, that opener was surreal. Synovus Park is absolutely gorgeous. I believe there were well over 6,000 fans during the opener. Jack Johnson, who's the voice of the Clean Stones, he is the media director. He's responsible for getting everybody their media passes. He said there was close to 60, 70 members of the media, and we were there to cover the Clean Stones. They were taking on the Pensacola Blue Wahoos. Craig Kimbrell pitched. The Clean Stones got the win. But other than that, it wasn't about the wins and losses. Yes, the Clean Stones did drop 4 out of 6 to Pensacola, and right now they're currently 6-8. But we had not just that opener, but to have 3,000 fans on a Wednesday night, and then they averaged about 4,000 fans throughout the weekend. Kevin Harvick threw the first pitch one of the games. The kids got to run the bases. I saw my friends constantly posting on social media that they were at Synovus Park, taking their picture with Fuzzy. A lot of people did not get a chance to go to the opener because those were sold out long time. And so with that being said, I mean, they turned around and they went Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday, and so on, because right now this is an event. Who's who in the city of Columbus has been at Synovus Park to see the Clean Stones, and I can't wait till they're back at Synovus Park. They're going on the road, but they'll be back next week when they take on Biloxi on Tuesday.
And it's going to be a lot of fun, and it will be a great showing next time. We will be able to be there and covering them. And again, thank you to the WNBA Draft, Sports Rewards Luncheon, Columbus Lions. They came up short on Friday, and this will kind of be the last thing we talked about because we'll get into River Dragons talk with Tom Callahan and their incredible 2 out of 3 game winning 2 out of 3 in a series to move on to the next round against the Athens Rock Lobsters. I cannot get anything right now, Richard. But Columbus, back and forth game against the number 1 team in the league in Beaumont Renegades, and they end up coming up short. 44-37 was your final score. Over 25 penalties with this team, just some uncharacteristic mistakes. Also, Marcus Brooks had some great passes that were dropped, and then towards the end of the game, you had a 1 shot to score a touchdown, and they didn't call pass interference. In my opinion, the referees didn't do a great job showcasing this league. They called every foul known to man, and then at the end of the game, in which you've called every technical foul there is, you don't call one on pass interference. That's a tough pill to swallow. But again, River Dragons know they got to look themselves in the mirror, and they got no one to blame but themselves. They had a chance to win this game. It was a great game to be a part of, and I expect many more like that. But for the first time in 3 years, the Lions go down, and now we're 2 games back of Beaumont. So it looks like the Lions probably will not be hosting a playoff game, Richard, unless something crazy happens, which they would have to win at Beaumont, and then Beaumont would need to lose at least once more to get a tie. It's going to be a tough one, so we'll see what happens with the Lions.
Yeah, the competitive balance in the NAL has really shifted on a level playing field. The Lions have been used to winning and winning big in the last 2 leagues they've been in. But I think Beaumont was coming into this game undefeated. They knocked off Omaha, which was the defending NAL champions. You're starting to see that the evolution of with the new rule changes, and now that you can drop back some players in coverage, that the quarterback is starting to become more mobile, as you saw that Beaumont's quarterback was mobile. And it's it's more like, our traditional arena football is passing. They have now you could send 2 receivers in motion, but now we have running backs, and now we have, if everybody's going to drop back in coverage, just throw to the running back or hand off to the running back. And Columbus is going to make adjustments. I think that Coach Damon Daniels, he is a very good coach as far as motivating his guys. I know this loss, it stings, but Columbus will bounce back. They actually will go on the road to take on Colorado. Their next home game is not until May the 10th. They've got to find a way to get a win, because right now they have a 2-game losing streak. And I know it's not sitting well with Columbus Lions fans because they're used to winning.
But not all is lost, Richard, is what you're trying to say.
That's what exactly. I'm trying to say, Thrift. The Columbus Lions will be fine. They just need to go back to the drawing board, and they need to find out what has been working in the past and use that to try to get the next win.
All right, well, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back from break, we're going to have him on. It's the man himself, the voice of the Columbus Riverdragons here on the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show. You're watching right now the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show that is presented by Glenn Smith Chevrolet and GMC. Get ready to smile. We'll be right back after this.
Get ready to smile, because it's Truck Month at Glenn Smith Chevrolet in Opelika. Take your pick of over 40 brand new Chevrolet Silverados, discounted up to $14,000 off while they last. New Chevy Equinox, the compact SUV featuring high-tech options, discounted up to $5,000 off. Enjoy no payments until summertime. Choose from over 500 new and used vehicles on the lot or on the way. GlennSmith.com. Get ready to smile.
Hi, my name is Griff Gordy, and here at Gordy Eye Care, we have been serving the Bi-City community for 17 years. As a former state championship quarterback, I love the fact that I can watch local high school athletics from the comfort of my own home. So it was a no-brainer to support Georgia Alabama Sports Live and what they do for young athletes in our area.
And without business like yourself, Gordy Eye Care, none of our coverage would be possible. To be able to cover these 16 different high schools, the local colleges, and professional teams. So we'd like to say thank you to you, Dr. Griff Gordy and Gordy Eye Care, for your support of Georgia Alabama Sports Live. And then you can make an appointment today at Gordy Eye Care with the number 334-291-5125. Keep supporting Gordy Eye Care and keep watching Georgia Alabama Sports Live. Welcome back, everyone. Thrift Barringer here. Richard Holdridge. It's the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show. And as promised, we got him on. The man, the myth, the legend. His name is Tom Callahan, the voice and do it all for the Columbus Riverdragons. Tom, thank you so much for making time out of your day to talk with us, man.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on again, guys.
All right. Last time we talked, Tom, and we've talked to Dana in between last time we talked with you to kind of keep optimism up high for Riverdragons fans, for the city of Columbus, because obviously this year was not the historic year last year. You don't have to reemphasize on that. But going into last week, I felt from a lot of people that covered the Riverdragons, that like the Riverdragons, they were a little bit nervous, probably more nervous in years past in a round one matchup. What did you see from the Riverdragons in what was an epic thriller? By the way, incredible call on the game 3, man. I'm telling you, if we had awards for top calls of the year, I'm putting that up there as number 1, man. Send them packing, baby. But Tom, go ahead and just paint the picture, will you, of last series, man, and how awesome a win that was for the Riverdragons.
Well, coming into it, I mean, Columbus finished well behind Athens in the regular season. They were second and third, but for the Riverdragons, Athens was a 121-point team. Columbus was 100 points. So that's really a 7-win difference in our league. And so that's over a 56-game schedule. That's a pretty big gap. The advantage, I guess, in the way the Riverdragons had this year that they haven't had in previous years, there was a lot more pressure on Columbus in previous years than there was this year, because no one really expected the Riverdragons to get by Athens. Athens came in, almost ended up in first place instead of second. It came down to the final weekend of the regular season. Carolina ends up in first. And winning game 1 on home ice was huge for Columbus. Being able to, I guess, really show yourself, show the fan base, show everybody around you that you had what it took to compete with them. And you deserve to be in that matchup, because quite frankly, I feel like people were looking past Columbus. And this is a team that didn't have a great regular season, but started to put it together towards the playoffs. And so going up to Athens, lost game 2. And then in losing game 2, I think things got really, I mean, they crossed the line a couple of times. There were some spearing incidents, and the league basically said, look, we're not suspending anybody in this game, but knock it off, or there will be suspensions. And I think it changed a bit of the color and the tenor of game 3. And Athens, whereas they were over the top physical in game 2 and they really wore the River Dragons down, they didn't play that way. And I think there was a little bit of that fear in not knowing where the line was for them, and Columbus absolutely took advantage.
Well, Tom, it just goes to show it does not matter what happens in the regular season when you're going up against a team, because if you can get into the playoffs, you can get hot at the right time. Columbus did not have very good success in Athens. They played a lot of Wednesday night games up there. Do you think that because they were prepared, and especially since it was the 1-2 format, they got game 1, they knew all they had to do was just get 1 up in Athens. Do you think that helped that Athens was only 3 hours away and that they weren't playing that dreaded Wednesday night game like they did during the regular season?
That Wednesday night stretch was actually some of the worst hockey that Columbus played all year, was in that stretch. That was really our dog days of the season. So to get through that stretch there, that really January and February were bad. And then we started picking it up, right, getting into March. So I think that, number one, travel is always a concern, and having it close or closer in only going to Athens was big. And I also, again, just, as you say, and we talk about it from the River Dragons perspective, the season record against Athens was 5-5-2. So they played them even. The difference was, if you look at the games, Columbus won close games, Athens won blowouts. So when they beat Columbus, they really beat them. And I think in a way it made the season series feel more lopsided than it was. Columbus still won 5 games, and took points in 2 more. So maybe in a way that skewed the perspective a little bit. It just, whatever it was, I think everything just kind of came together to really favor the River Dragons in this series. And I do think that maybe they were looking past us a little bit.
Tom, let's go ahead and talk about the Carolina Thunderbirds, our arch nemesis, the team that knocked us out from a historic year last year. From what I calculated, and tell me if I'm wrong, Tom, are we 5-4 this year against Carolina, or what's the record against Carolina this season?
So according to my handy dandy spreadsheet here, which I kind of tracked all that stuff during the year, but
I trust your handiwork sheet over my top of my head, man.
So, it's let's see. So against Carolina this year, it was actually 4-3-1. So 3-4-1.
Gotcha.
So yeah, a little bit of a game below 500, but when it comes to the home games here at the Columbus Civic Center, where, by the way, we're starting on Wednesday night at 7:05 p.m., Carolina was actually pretty good on our home ice. We lost twice and lost in a shootout as well. There was only one outright victory, and that was back on November 10th. So, you know what? We played pretty well up there. But the most important thing, and this is the weekend, the March 21st, 22nd weekend, lost the first game. It was close, 3-1, but beat them in the second game 5-2, and I think looked good doing it.
Right.
And that's something that I hadn't been able to say about Columbus in the matchups this year against some of the top dogs, as I mentioned, in those season doldrums. But really, with a couple weeks to go, I think that win sparked just a run for the River Dragons, and a bit of a belief that they could get things done. I know they struggled a little bit the next week against Hudson Valley, and I think they were guilty of looking past Hudson Valley, were the River Dragons. But I don't know. I just, there's something about this hockey team right now that makes it feel like it's coming together at the right time. And honestly, the season series against Carolina, throw it out.
Tom, I do want to talk about that series with Hudson Valley, because they're one of the bottom teams in the Empire Division. The River Dragons fans were expected that they were supposed to sweep Hudson Valley. When they dropped those first 2 games, you could hear the grumblings from River Dragons fan pages, but let's put all that aside. It doesn't matter. They're playing Carolina. And by the way, this is the 3rd straight year that Columbus has played Carolina the last 2 seasons. So this is the 3rd straight year they're going to play Carolina. The last 3 playoff appearances, the River Dragons won game 1. So what's different with this River Dragons team, and based off the fact that they don't have all the pressure on them, but what's going to be the mindset on Wednesday night? Do they have to take game 1, or is it if they do for some reason, if they lose game 1, do they play better with their backs against the wall?
I don't think you can necessarily afford to lose game 1 at home in this series. That doesn't mean you can't win the series if you lose game 1, but it's only a best of 3. And it puts you behind the 8 ball to have to win both in Carolina. They did not win consecutive games in Carolina this year. The 2 weekend series up there, they split. So that would suggest to me for Columbus coming in, they have to win Wednesday night. So that's a big one. And they did win Wednesday against Athens. And again, I think that was a 7-4 game. So, Columbus has proven they're not afraid of the big opponent. A difference from the last couple of years where these two teams met again in the conference final, just like they're doing here, is that last year, I think the team was much more centered around one line. It was more centered around that McDonald, Moore, and Hunter line. And they're still together this year, but they're not as dependent on them. Justin McDonald didn't have his MVP caliber season and lead the league in scoring like he did last year. Now, keep in mind, he was injured for part of this year and missed significant time. But the scoring's much more distributed now. I think there's a lot more secondary scoring for the River Dragons. It makes them tougher to defend. You still know who the top line is, but I think because they've been drawing the defensive matchups and have been held in check, not off the score sheet, but in check,
right?
That allows the other lines to step up, and they have. And that's been big. They've been getting goals from up and down the lineup. Storjahan, Wickline, even Scott Doherty with a huge goal in game 3. Other people are contributing. And that's why I think Columbus has a little bit of an advantage. They are actually right now deeper and more well distributed when it comes to offense.
So as Richard talked about winning game 1 last year on the road and then coming back home and losing those 2. Now we talked to Dana Barker. He hates the format, especially when it comes to playing in your own division, like Athens. That could have been a 1-1-1. Now I love to get your opinion on the format. Do you like the 1-2? Like they're doing right now? And I understand it when they're playing teams that are up north because of the travel constraints and stuff like that. But with that being said, 2-part question, really, Tom. Do you like the format? And the format really, I think, works in favor of the team that plays game 1 at home, does it not? So in my opinion, the River Dragons win game 1. All the pressure's now on Carolina, even more than it was heading into it. What's your thought on that?
I do agree that starting with game 1 at home is huge. I think it is good. And again, being the underdog in this series doesn't hurt you one bit. So the other thing is, even though it's 3-4 hours to Athens, those are still long hours. You're still leaving at 11 or 11:30, 12 o'clock at night. Then you're figuring out Atlanta traffic. You're still not getting back here till 4. You're not going to bed till 5 or 6. No, I don't want it 1-1-1. And Carolina, Baton Rouge, any of those places, unless we're flying, like chartered jet flying, no, right. I want no part of that. I would rather go in and stay overnight and play the 2 games back to back. And of course, the third game's only if necessary. So if you win the first 2, you're not even getting to game 3.
Right.
So no, I mean, I think it's set up about as fairly as you can. Fans forget one of the important things at this level is to make sure that when a team's in the playoffs, that they're able to play at least a home game so that ownership gets some gate revenue in each round. And I mean, that's the way it would work for any team, even if, like, let's say you go to the final, and in this league, if you agree to play best of 5 for the final, you can, as opposed to best of 3. If the ownership groups agree. So even so, it's going to be 2-3 if it's best of 5. The first 2 games will be, let's say, in Columbus, and then games 3 through 5 would be in Binghamton.
All right, so Tom, another thing that I think it may be a check mark against the 1-2-2 is that you're having to play in the middle of the week. So I've seen people and fans, not a lot of them, but I've seen people and fans talk about, I wish it was on the weekend. I could be able to make the games. You've seen it all season. Has the attendance really fluctuated with more on weekends compared to Wednesday nights?
I think you're going to find that with anything, it's going to be more on weekends, whether it's baseball, football, hockey, basketball. Right. Generally, you're doing better on a weekend. That's why we try to play the majority of our home dates. All teams do in the minor leagues on Friday and Saturday nights. Even at the AAA level, I know it's impossible with baseball, but even a hockey or a basketball team, you want weekend dates if you can get them. Now, building availability may play into that. Yes, your crowd's going to be lower on a Wednesday. It's why, actually, if I could plug it a little, we're offering special group packages.
Plug as much as you want, Tom.
Yeah, so we special group packages that include things that you don't get in the regular season. Like you get mascot visits, you get autographed merchandise. We've got some playoff swag in there. If you have enough people in your group, we'll take you down on the ice and take a picture. So, that's something that we are trying to encourage people to bring a group on short notice, which is hard to do. And yeah, on a Wednesday night, it's a school night. We're still starting at 7:05 as opposed to 7:35, but it's not the easiest night for folks to make. So it can be a little difficult, but look, you're still playing at home. Our fans are still loud. This is still a difficult building to play in. So, at the end of the day, I'm just hoping that maybe that the people who also here in Columbus might have looked past us in this first round, kind of realize, okay, they won that first round and they had to battle to do it. This team might be better than we thought. We should go watch.
100%. And this is a crowd to everyone in the community, because we're going to try our best. Tom, we do have playoff baseball, but somebody's going to be there from Georgia Alabama Sports Live covering it. I'm literally pushing this out there for everyone. It needs to be a packed out Civic Center. It needs to be the most raucous, loud atmosphere you've seen. And then it's a lot of fun too, as you just talked about, Tom. That's awesome when it comes to getting signings, all the promotions and stuff. That's really cool that y'all do that. Richard, do you want to ask a question? Because I did want to kind of pivot real quick, but I want to keep it on River Dragons if you got another question.
Yes, Tom, I do have one more question. I want to talk about just the cohesiveness of the team. I know losing the captain, Josh Pietrantonio, to retirement. Jay Krupp goes to Mississippi. Who's the team leader? I know that Alex Storjahan, Justin McDonald, we see them like out in the community, but you also have Kyle Moore, Ryan Hunter. Who would you consider that coach on the ice?
Well, coach in title, not only figuratively, but Justin McDonald is an assistant coach this year. It's one of the reasons why he's not wearing a letter on his jersey, because in our league, you can't be a player assistant and also be part of the leadership group. So he's not the captain. Kirk Underwood is the captain, who's also a tremendous leader. J-Mac, when he was hurt earlier this year, was behind the bench and has, when he gets his veteran rest days, he's also still behind the bench. Austin Doe is another veteran who doesn't get talked about a whole lot, but is absolutely one of the important leadership guys on this team. And you lose Pietrantonio to retirement, and I don't think people could even begin to understand everything Josh did behind the scenes, and just what a tremendous person on and off the ice he was. And those are some big skates to fill. And Kirk Underwood is a little bit different style of leader, but I think, the guys respect him and they will follow him and they listen to him. And some of the more veteran players, you mentioned, Moore's got a letter on his sweater this year. Doe does as well. And McDonald is obviously a leader. And there's just a lot of guys, I think, who have understood that, hey, this is the passing of the torch, if you will. Right. This year, and it'll continue into next year. But the other thing we've seen is, you talk about a Moore, you talk about a Storjahan, you talk about some of these guys who have actually kind of chosen to make Columbus their home now. And that's very important, whether it's, Storjahan started a business. He's got a pressure washing business. Kyle Moore married a local girl. They just had a kid. Congratulations to them, not too long ago. So, they're becoming part of the community, which is, the coach is the example of becoming part of the community. Jerome Bichard's been here for 30 years. has never left town, and I mean the guy's a fixture. He could run for mayor.
He could.
It just so like you follow that example, and I think that your leadership group just becomes that embodiment of the culture and the mentality of the organization, and Boom Boom is a big reason why it is that way.
Okay, now I'm going to pivot, and the reason I'm pivoting right now is because insight into I know minor league sports. I don't trust anyone's opinion more than I do yours, and I'm not trying to ruffle any feathers. Tom, I just want to ask some basic questions.
Here
so
we go.
last week was opening week of the Clean Stones. They put out their attendance that they had, which is awesome. And I also understand they're the new shiny toy. Everybody wants to say they've been to a game. So I would expect numbers like that. But here's my question is, especially with minor league baseball, I don't think the River Dragons, you have the following you do if you're not winning and competitive. Is that same thing applied to minor league baseball? Do they need to win games to keep that attendance record up? Or do you think if they put a lot of money like they're doing into the entertainment value of it, that they can still maintain that? Because I think y'all have done a great job with the entertainment value, your marketing, you're always out in the community, and you're winning. So they should take a play, out of the playbook of the River Dragons and what you do and Jeff Krupp. But I'm more talking about the Clean Stones. Minor league baseball. Do you think this is sustainable if they don't win, Tom?
Well, two things to remember here. Number one is that the point of the Clingstones is not to win. The point of the Clingstones is to develop talent.
Yep.
They're a AA baseball team. And as painful as that reality may be to the baseball fans of Columbus, especially the hardcore ones, winning's not a priority. Yes, you can develop certain characteristics and traits from winning, and winning is good. It's nice to have that culture. But if every prospect who's here right now suddenly turned out to be a major leaguer of epic proportion and you won 0 games, guess what? The Braves are happy with that.
Right.
So, that's the end game is not winning a AA championship. The end game is winning a World Series. So keep that in mind. Number two, to answer your other question, is baseball for the most part is about the casual fan these days. And that is why you put more money into promotions and the show and all of that. And that is how it works. Like marketing, baseball, and all of that is so different from hockey or other sports that are weekend only sports. When you're playing every day for 6 days or 12 days, you do what's called tent polling, which means you pick a couple of game days in that home stretch. Those are the games you try to sell out. And those are your tent poles that hold up the rest of the homestand while attendance sags in between them, right?
Gotcha.
So you have a fireworks night, and that's a tent pole, right? Then you have a giveaway night, you have bobblehead or something, and that's a tent pole. You're going to sell those 2 games well. And then the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in between, attendance goes down. But you give that up when you have 135 games in your season. That, or 130, I think you have 65 home games. Baseball just has to market itself that way. This year, the Clingstones are going to be fine because they do have that new ballpark. The curiosity factor alone, it's going to take the city and the surrounding area all summer to sample that ballpark. And so they will have strong attendance. They also have, for the most part, multi-year corporate agreements, so they're going to be okay there. In year 2 and 3, once the shiny wears off, that's where they're going to have to really think about how are they maintaining their audience? How are they bringing people in? You can tell I spent a long time in sports marketing, huh?
Yeah, exactly. But this is the knowledge I want to drop, man. I'm so glad you're answering it this way.
Yeah. So that's where they should be looking long-term with their marketing plans right now. Is year 1's going to sell itself. They honestly don't have to do a lot. And I would be tempted to not do a lot in year 1 for them. They're going to be just fine. It's year 2 and beyond where you're going to start to see it sag a little bit. So that's where you want to bring people back. And again, baseball with 65 home games, you're not selling them all out. And it is going to be more catering to the casual fan. It is now more of an event than a game. And you're always going to have your hardcore fans, right? I go to baseball games and I still try to keep score in my program, right? But I'm a dying breed. So people go there to have a good time with their friends, may not even pay attention to more than 2 innings of baseball, but they want to be out in the sun,
Right.
want to have a few, beverages, or maybe their kids are running around in left field or something like that. That's why they go. And that is where, they would need to find the success. Now, again, to your point with the River Dragons, winning goes a long way for us.
Yes.
Our hardcore fans are our hardcore fans, but nobody wants to win more than Jeff Krug, who is the COO and owner of the team. He's always going to be doing his best to put a winning product out there. And that is really, what we try to build the culture around here. So, we've had playoff success since I've been here the last several years. And I know even before I was here, this team was challenging for championships and even won one. So hopefully we're continuing that again this year by making it to the conference final. And, we're one series win away from battling for the Commissioner's Cup.
You're not here for 6 years and having the attendance that y'all have had if you're not doing something right. So obviously you're doing something right. And I would hope, you don't have to get into details, I'm just putting this disclaimer out there. I would hope that the Clingstones work with every professional organization, but specifically the Columbus River Dragons, because, really, to be honest, keeping professional sports in here, it goes a long way for what Jeff did with the Chattahoochee River Dragons, and you being a part of that too, Tom. So I hope they understand it, which I think they do. But I just want to put that disclaimer out there. So thank you for answering that, man. I love getting your insight on stuff like this. It's why we got to go have a beverage and some wings again, so I can just pick your brain all the time. But again, this is now your time. I want you to plug whatever you want to plug, whether it be your podcast, which you get to go and talk. Is it Utah or Las Vegas hockey? It's Utah.
Utah now, yeah. I've joined the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast. It'll be a year in May, actually, next month.
Wow.
And just tremendous out of the gate success for that. So I still get to cover an NHL team. And now they've missed the playoffs, but the NHL playoffs are starting. So we're still doing daily content on that. So just look for, on the Locked On Sports Network, look for Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast. So you can find me there. And then when it comes to here for the River Dragons, again, I know it's short notice, but if anybody's got a group of 10 or more, they can call our office, which is 706-507-4625, or they can email us tickets with an S, tickets at rdragons.com. Otherwise, single game seats are on sale right now through the usual outlets, the box office and Ticketmaster. And Wednesday's game 1 is at 7:05. And man, I hope we just absolutely smash the Carolina Thunderbirds.
It would be nothing better than smashing some Thunderbirds and stomping them into the ground. By the way, Locked On is doing something right. They got Locked On Auburn. They got Locked On Professional Sports. Locked On Universe that you're a part of, Tom, that is a growing podcasting network, and they're doing it right. So that's awesome that you're a part of that, dude.
It actually is pretty cool because Thrift, that's the old Arizona Coyotes team, and I worked for them. Right. Well, now we're talking, 8 years ago. But some of those, they were kids then, are now grown men, and they're in the NHL, whether they're still playing for that franchise in Utah or they've moved on to other places. So it's kind of interesting to check back in, if you will, on that story a couple years later and see where the development has led. And the other thing is I have the history behind me, so I know a lot of how they got to where they are.
Send them packing. I know you got something up your sleeve if we end up taking down Carolina. Thank you so much for coming on, Tom, and we look forward to having you on next week when we're talking about playing in the championship series.
Oh, I absolutely can't wait.
Thanks, Tom. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we got more here on the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show.
Even though I'm away at college, Kinetic Credit Union is still the best way for me to stay connected here and at home. With the Kinetic mobile app, I have control of my accounts wherever I go. I can easily transfer money between internal and external accounts, get money faster by setting up recurring transfers, and I can find the nearest ATM or branch right from my phone. Plus, I can add my Kinetic cards to my phone's digital wallet and enjoy quick, secure, contactless payments. By the way, Mom, I need some more money.
Kinetic Credit Union, the energy for your dreams.
Natalie, I need some more money. Doesn't work the same. I don't know how he gets it. Every time he asks Mom for money, he's getting money. And then I ask Natalie for something. She gives me a look like you're supposed to be giving me money. So
and
how does he make it work?
The girl is impressed, too.
And the girl's impressed that every time he asks his mom for money, the girl's like, you do it, babe. Go ask your mom for more money. It's Thrift, Barringer, Richard Holdridge, Georgia Alabama Sports Live. let's go ahead and throw it up, Rich. So the regular season ended for the GHSA schools. For the Alabama schools, they've ended this past week. So the only teams that still have regular season play is the GIAA schools, Brookstone, Pacelli, and Calvary. Everybody else, they're heading into the playoffs or they didn't make the playoffs. So let's start with number 10. Hardaway, they're in the playoffs, Big Rich. I don't know if you know that or not. And they're actually ranked higher than Jordan. If you look, they are 19th. Jordan is 23rd. How is that possible when Jordan beat them and finished third in the region? That's a travesty. I don't agree with it. I want to know how they go about their ratings and rankings in the GHSA, but that's either here nor there. We got them number 10 because they made the playoffs. Congratulations to Coach Anthony on making the playoffs once again and having a winning record this year. Really good season for his Hardaway Hawks. And number 9 is the Jordan Red Jackets. And what can we say about Coach David Lane? Was a win away from beating Shaw, in my opinion, from being right there on that threshold and maybe hosting a playoff game. But they're going to be on the road, but they come in at number 9. Jordan and Hardaway, what do you got, Rich?
Yeah, both teams are going to be on the road. Hardaway is actually in the same quadrant as Columbus and Shaw. If they're able to get an upset, which it's highly unlikely because Pierce County, they're the 3 seed. I mean, they would have to face Pierce County in the second round if they're able to get their win. Right now, Hardaway's the 19th seed. They would take on the 14th seed. But what can you say about the job that Coach Anthony has done? I think that Hardaway is known for manufacturing runs by getting runners on base. You have a guy like Christian Ellaby who almost has 40 stolen bases this year. And you have like Keyshawn Davis, Bobby Gary Jr. They like to steal bases. They get on base, they're going to swipe second and third. That's what Hardaway does. And that's why they were successful, a 16-7 record, split the season series with Jordan. They did lose twice to Shaw and twice to Columbus. Tough in the region, but they beat everybody else in the region that they were supposed to beat. With like Spencer, who was on the outskirts of the playoffs, that 6-7 record. I know they didn't play a whole lot of games. Spencer could have snuck in if they would have maybe had 1 or 2 more wins. They beat Sumter County, Carver, Kendrick. They beat everybody that was in the bottom of the region. But yeah, Hardaway on the road. Jordan, a little surprised that they're a seed that's a 22nd or 23rd. They're
a team that finished 15-8.
Yeah.
Here in the season, Richard. They lost 9-1 to Shaw. They finished 10-4 in the region. I don't understand it. I think that's a travesty again that they are ranked as low as they are. And by the way, for those that are looking at the rankings, these are this week's. We just forgot to take off that date. It should be the 21st, but it's okay when we post it on social media. And I'm telling you now, it is up to date this week. Richard, number 8 is Pacelli. So Pacelli comes in at number 8. They're 11-12 on the year, but they're 1-5 in the region, Rich. And this is where they Westfield, they're really good. They're ranked in 3A. They got swept by Brookstone. They did beat Stratford. They did beat Chattahoochee County. They were on a 4-game winning streak before losing to FPD last Wednesday, and they were actually leading in that game, but they ended up losing 10-5. FPD is their number 1 ranked team in the GIAA. Richard, what's your thoughts on Pacelli coming in at number 8? You're muted, Richard. You got to unmute, man.
Yeah. Well, Pacelli is ranked number 10 in the GIAA, and they got a very tough 3-game series with Calvary. And, that's going to be a testament to see how good this Pacelli team can be. I don't think they're going to slip out of the playoffs because right now the Keens Academy is the 12th seed, but they got to have a good showing against Calvary. You don't want to get swept by Calvary. You don't want to get swept by Strong Rock. I mean, these are very 2 good, talented teams that they're on the back end of your schedule that you want to have a good showing. And Coach Rasmus, what can you say about, his first year as head coach? They did lose a lot of players from last year's team.
Yep.
They got bats from Connor Zitrauer. You've got the talented freshman Jacob Velos, who really had an impact as an 8th grader. But yeah, I'm excited about this 3-game series against Pacelli Calvary, which you will get on Georgia Alabama Sports Live.
And I can't wait for that. And by the way, coming into this week, Pacelli in the GIAA rankings is number 10. They will be on the road at Bullock if the playoffs started today. Number 7, Shaw. They're number 11 in the rankings. They get to host a first-round playoff. If they win that, they will then get to play against Columbus if they win. Richard, so how about that? We could have Columbus and Shaw facing off against each other in that second-round matchup. That would be pretty incredible, man. So Shaw comes in, a 9-1 victory over Jordan, 17-13 on the season, Richard, and then being able to beat Jordan to win that second place, finish 12-2 in region play. Great season for Coach Howie Shackford and getting to host and hopefully be a second round. And then who knows when you take on Columbus. So Columbus could be in the quarterfinals. And by the way, Columbus is the number 6 seed. So Shaw is the 11. Columbus is 6. Columbus won the region. Richard, great season by them. And Coach Chad Mathis, 13-1, 16-14 overall, 13-1 in the region. And they have a chance, to make a deep run in 2A. So Columbus and Shaw.
Columbus is going to host Sonoraville on Friday for a doubleheader for games 1 and games 2. Shaw is going to host Crisp County. That's going to be at home for games 1 and games 2, a best of 3 if necessary on Saturday. And yeah, there's a possibility that we could see a second round matchup between Shaw and Columbus. And Thrift, I don't know about you. We're hoping that we could possibly get the GHSA contract for that second round game, especially if it's Shaw and Columbus. And for baseball, we already saw it for basketball, the Elite Eight with Carver and Spencer. So why not Shaw and Columbus, the 2 top teams in the region, facing off against each other in the second round?
Moving on is number 5 is Calvary Christian Knights. They had the biggest week last week, taking 2 or 3 from the defending champion, number 2 ranked Brookstone Cougars. They were able to lose game 1 at home, win game 2 on the road against the second best pitcher in the league in Chong-Woo Kim in our area. And they were able to come back, beat him, and then win that epic game 3, 9-7. So they won 2 or 3 against Brookstone. Now, Brookstone still has everything in front of them. That was only their second region loss. Calvary's already got 3. So Brookstone would have to lose another. Calvary needs a win out for Calvary to win the region, which could happen. But Calvary comes in ranked number 5 in the GIAA. If you look at the GIAA rankings, Richard, their strength of schedule is so far ahead of everyone else's, it's not even funny. So they've had the hardest strength of schedule out of anybody in the GIAA, and you've seen their losses. That this is something that Coach Smith is hoping will kind of catapult them. But this winning the series against Brookstone was absolutely huge for Calvary. They got a 3-game series against Pacelli, and then they end it against Heritage. So they got a 3-game series against Pacelli, and then they got Heritage coming up next week. So we will be cheering on so next week, May 2nd and 3rd will be at I think it's at Heritage. Don't quote me on that. No, they play Heritage at home on Friday. That's senior night, or Southern Christian maybe senior night. I think that game's still up in the air. But either way, Calvary's got Pacelli and Heritage and Southern Christian. So they have 6 more games left. What can you say about Calvary moving into the top 5 with a big week last week?
Yeah, they could run the table, win out. And then now that makeup game between Brookstone and Westfield School on May the 2nd could mean something. So Brookstone, there might be all kinds of pressure on Brookstone to win that game to wrap up the region. I think Brookstone needs to win out because I just think Calvary could run the table. I mean, this is how good this Calvary team is. Like you said, they are a 5 seed. The first 4 teams get the bye in the GIAA playoffs. I think Calvary is happy where they are because they would host in the first round, and we could possibly see right now, First Presbyterian Day is the number 1 seed. We could possibly see a quarterfinal matchup between Calvary and FPD. Who knows? If Calvary can get the upset, they'll be playing at Synovus Park for the GIAA championship. But first things first, we got to get past Pacelli. I know that this is a rivalry game. Pacelli has got everything to play for. Pacelli is going to want to try to win some games against Calvary, but Calvary's playing with a lot of confidence, and that was a statement, getting 2 out of 3 against Brookstone. And I do want to say something, Thrift, because you knew I was going to bring it up. Coaches, box, Georgia, just going to leave it at that. Again, they did not put Calvary in their top 10, and this is a coaches poll. I understand Calvary's new to the GIAA, and this poll is including the
I don't even think
schools.
they're worthy being brought up anymore because I think it's a joke of a poll, and I don't care about it, and I think it's a travesty, and I don't want to hear about it anymore. Number 4 is Harris County. They're on a 4-game losing streak, and they are 21-9. They were 12-2 in the region before losing to Northside in the game 3 of that best of 3, and then they lost all 3 to Sars Mill last week. So Sars Mill finished 16-2, number 1 in the region. Northside finished number 2, 15-3, 22-8. How about Tracy Powell? We'll get to them in a minute. Harris County finished number 3 at 12-6, 21-9, and Central Carroll finished 11-7 and 20-9. Harris County is going to take Pace Academy this Wednesday. Should be a huge series. Pace is 15-11. They were number 2 in a much weaker region. I think Harris County will take care of business, but then they potentially could be taking on Alatoona in that second round. But Coach Tony Dimitri's young, albeit talented team, been on a slump here, and hopefully they can kind of shake off all that rust and bad mojo and finish out the playoffs strong, and getting that first round matchup would be massive. So we'll be cheering on Harris County. Northside tied for 4th. The reason we did this because Harris County beat them 2 out of 3, but Northside came second in the region and was a Sars Mill loss from winning the region. Northside swept Central Carroll and beat Sars Mill 2 out of 3. They were 5-1 against them and 1-2 against Harris County. It's pretty much summed up the season for Northside. But man, what an incredible year for Coach Tracy Powell and his Patriots. They're going to be hosting, and we're going to be broadcasting that game coming up this Wednesday. They will be hosting Midtown out of Atlanta. They 22-8 taking on the 16-7 Midtown Atlanta team. So Northside Harris County, they've been right there neck and neck all year, and they've come in at the end of the regular season of our rankings, number 4.
Yeah, and it doesn't get any more Atlanta than Midtown. This is right across the I-75 from Georgia State. This is in the heart of downtown Atlanta. This is a very talented 4A school making the trip to Columbus. How about Northside? And big shout out to their public address announcer, Ricky Rogers. I know he's excited that Northside is hosting a playoff game. He is going to be there with PA announcing and getting the Northside fans all hyped up for that doubleheader on Wednesday. Yeah,
it should be a ton of fun, and we can't wait to be there for that. Number 3 is Brookstone. Tough week for the Cougars last week. They were looking like, in that, especially that game too, Richard, they looked like a team that was potentially going to sweep Calvary and make a statement as like, why are we not ranked number 1? And then they made some uncharacteristic mistakes and lost the last 2. That's a tough pill to swallow for Coach Greg Mathis and his Brookstone Cougars. They take on Strong Rock doubleheader, and that is take on them the 24th. So they actually take on Strong Rock tomorrow, and then they got a doubleheader on the Thursday, and then next week against Westfield. So we'll be there this Thursday for the doubleheader, Richard, me and you, and then on next week, and that is, I think, next Thursday, Richard, that they will be taking on, or is that next Friday? That is next Friday. They'll have Westfield at home that got rescheduled back in early May. Brookstone still, I think, the team to beat in the GIAA. I think they got the pitching and the hitting to do great. Here's the thing. They're just in a little bit of a lull right now. They're some uncharacteristic mistakes from seniors. They, I think, let Calvary fans kind of get in their head. And, hey, they credit to Calvary for coming out with a big win. But I think Brookstone, they know, hey, we got to finish out the regular season strong if we want to be able to win. Right now, they're ranked number 2 in the GIAA. They'll be hosting all the way until the state. And, the state's going to be at Synovus Park. So that's like a glorified home game. But Brookstone finishes number 3. Number 2, Richard, is the Central Red Devils. They finished their regular season at 29-8, 7-1 in area play. They take on Baker this week in the first round. I expect Central to make it no less than to the semifinals, and then anything can happen. right now in the 7A in their Alabama Sports Writers poll, Richard, they were ranked number 4 in the latest poll. Some have 4, some have 5. They would be taking on, the only reason they wouldn't make it to the the only reason they wouldn't make it to the state championship, Richard, because the only tough team they got on their side of the bracket, you know who it is?
Bob Jones.
Nope. 29-1 Enterprise. So Auburn they would have to take, but Enterprise is 29-1 and they are ranked number 4. So I was looking at the 7A playoff bracket for baseball, Richard, and it looks like they're missing out on Bob Jones, Thompson, Hewitt Trustville, which is ranked number 1 right now in the entire area, Richard. I mean, in the entire state, they're ranked number 1. And looking at the rankings, looking at the bracket, they would have to take on next week's, who they still have to be determined on the bracket online. So I don't know who that would be, but they wouldn't have to. Enterprise and Auburn would face off in the quarterfinals. They would take on that Enterprise team in the semifinals who has 1 loss. If they beat them, they would either take on Hewitt Trustville or Bob Jones. And by the way, Hewitt Trustville and the defending champion Bob Jones, they're going to face off in the quarterfinals. That's how that worked out. 2 of the best teams in the entire state are going to be taking on the quarterfinals. And Central got the benefit of being in a little bit of I wouldn't say the weaker side of the bracket, but more favorable side. So I'm seeing Coach Keogh, this could be the year. We thought it was last year and the year before, making it and losing it to Bob Jones. Watch it be this year, the year that nobody really talked about Central. It's been more about Glenwood. Like last year was all about Central. I think I'd see them winning state. And then, of course, Glenwood, ranked number 1. They're the best team in this area, the best team in the state. They're a top 5 team, regardless of classification. You put Glenwood in 7A, I find it hard to believe they wouldn't be one of the 2 or 3 favorites to win it all. That's how loaded Coach Fanning's team is. They dominated. They won 41-0 in the 2 games against Hale. They take on Thomasville this Friday, Richard. We'll stream it on the NFHS. We'll cover it and have interviews. And guess what, Rich? Thomasville was a defending 3A state champion. So they'll take on them in a huge matchup on Friday. But talk about that top 3, Richard.
Yeah, I agree with the top 3. All 3 teams are favorites to compete for a state championship. But Glenwood just took care of business against Hale County, 16-0, 25-0. It wasn't even competitive. This Thomasville team, they're the defending 3A champions, but they might be a little down this year having to face Glenwood in the second round. There's a potential matchup. I think they take care of business. They could possibly meet St. James in the quarterfinals. Remember, with the AHSAA compared to the AISA, there are more rounds for Glenwood to have to get by. I still think they're the favorites. I know that Prattville Christian is the number 1 team in 3A. They could possibly meet them. But I want to keep an eye on Lee Scott Academy. I want to see how well Lee Scott does. And I want to see, is there a potential matchup that Glenwood could meet Lee Scott in the semifinals? We'll have to find out. But yeah, it's I'll have to look at the bracket because I think Lee Scott, there could be a postseason matchup there.
100%. And I actually have the updated bracket. Coach Fanning actually sent it to me, and he's been filling them out. You actually can't find it online. You actually have to fill it out on your own. And Coach Fanning sent me that, so I'll see if I can find it. And here it is. So if they beat Thomasville, they'll take on St. James. Lee Scott's taking on Flomaton. If they beat them, they'll take on the number 1 team, Prattville, in the quarterfinals. So they could take on Lee Scott. It could happen. I don't see it, but Glenwood could be playing the best team. The best 2 teams in 3A could be facing off in the semifinals. Think about that, Richard. Yeah. Kind of like what we're seeing with the quarterfinals of 7A. The best 2 teams, Bob Jones and Hewitt Trustville, could be facing off in the quarterfinals. So here are our rankings, Richard. Thank you so much for getting those up and putting those on, man. And we've had a lot of fun here today. Thank you again to Tom Callahan for coming on. And this is where we are going to be this week. So we obviously, you saw today, we have the Kudzu Show and the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show tomorrow. We got Pacelli Calvary Baseball. And then, Richard, you're going to be doing Brooks on Pacelli Senior Night Soccer. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Wednesday, we're going to have the Northside baseball playoffs. They, again, will be taking on Midtown. So we'll have game 1 and 2 on Wednesday, and then the if necessary on Thursday. Then also on Wednesday, we got Inside the GIAA. We got the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show, Columbus Lions, and I think Pacelli Coaches Show will be, and Pacelli and Calvary Coaches Show will be this week. Strong Rock doubleheader against Brookstone, and then Calvary at Pacelli baseball, and then game 3 Pacelli and Calvary on Friday. We also got Russell County signing day on Thursday at 1, and then we got Saturday CBCC, and then we're going to be live from Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC. Colin Scroggins going to make an appearance on Saturday, and then Richard, we're going to hightail it from there and go to the block party type ordeal for the Hardaway Lady Hawks, and we're also going to talk to Kelly Ellison about that on Wednesday. They're trying to raise money for rings, Richard, and they need help. They need community support, and we plan on being there. It should be a lot of fun on Saturday to celebrate those 2025 Hardaway Lady Hawks champions. It's going to be a great week this week, Rich.
Yeah, I mean, we've covered a lot, and I know that we didn't even have time to do the unsolicited hot take. I mean, because
no, we're going to have
playoffs, and
we may we may record that, and that may drop tomorrow. So y'all stay tuned for that, because tomorrow we will have Brookstone Pacelli Soccer on YouTube, and then Pacelli Calvary Baseball will be 7 o'clock on the Gas Live broadcast page. So we got an opening, Rich, and I think we may use that opening, do unsolicited, talk about NBA playoffs. It's Overreaction Tuesday, not Overreaction Monday. We'll also talk about Braves, maybe a little Clingstones, whatever else that we can think of, anything else on the hottest topic in sports. All right, from Richard Holdridge, I'm Thrift Barringer. So thank you for the sponsors, Glenn Smith, Buffalo Rock Pepsi, Gordy Eye Care, and Kinetic Credit Union. We'll see y'all next time. Have a good night, everyone. It's the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you for watching the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show presented by Glenn Smith Chevrolet and GMC. You're ready to smile.